Breaking news, breaking news. Emmanuel Haro buried out there in the Badlands? Whoa! New reporting out by Brian Enton from News Nation, and some interesting stuff has come out in the last 24 hours on where baby Emmanuel could be. And he's reporting some interesting stuff. According to his sources, Jake confessed to rolling over in bed and killing his baby Emmanuel, panicked, then went out to the Badlands by Moreno Valley and buried Emmanuel somewhere out there. But then it seems like Jake possibly was lying about that scenario, and then police apparently did a Perkins operation and put a person to pretend they're an inmate. And apparently Jake confessed to this person, a Perkins operation, that he rolled over in bed and killed the baby by accident and put the baby in the trash. So two stories here on a possible scenario on where baby Emmanuel is. I think it's interesting about what he told authorities in reference, if it's all true, if this reporting is true. And I trust Brian Enton with his reporting because I call him the GOAT of true crime. He's everywhere. But he's reporting that Jake, that's the reason why authorities went to that location on the side of Highway 60 between Beaumont and Moreno Valley. But I'm kind of like, why didn't they go around, start digging up things? And Jake's pointing at the location, but yet no one's doing any digging at that time. So I find that very strange. But let me share with you some clips of Brian Enton. He spoke and made a report early this morning. I'm not going to play his full clip because he spoke for like 20 minutes. Go check it out. But I'm going to clip a couple things that he said. I clipped, and I'm going to share with all of you. We're going to discuss about the burying stuff and also the Perkins operation and the trash stuff. Check it out.
Baby Emmanuel's father, sources tell me, Jake Haro, told a fake inmate in the jail that he killed baby Emmanuel and put the baby in a trash can in his house. Let me repeat that again. Sources say that Jake Haro told a fake inmate in the jail that he killed baby Emmanuel and put the baby in a trash can in his house. You might be wondering how police got this information. This is part of what I'm told is called a Perkins operation. A Perkins operation, which is when police use a fake inmate to try to get information out of someone who has been arrested and who is inside the jail. This Perkins operation came after, I'm told, Jake Haro confessed to police that he rolled over in bed and killed the baby by accident and then buried the baby. So that is what Jake Haro told police, which is why he took police to that spot out along the freeway. This video that we have that shows him out there searching. That story, I'm told police believe, was all made up. First they got that story, then they decided to do the Perkins operation, I'm told, which is when they used the fake inmate and when they say they got the information that Jake Haro actually killed baby Emmanuel and put baby Emmanuel into a trash can. I'm joined now by Kim Dagonia, a former Riverside County prosecutor. Thank you for joining me again, Kim. I want to start with this new reporting that we have that Jake confessed to police that he rolled over the baby, killed the baby, and then buried the baby. But apparently that story was not true, right?
Yes, that is correct. My inside sources are telling me that was absolutely a lie. He made that all up to the police in order to, I guess, garner some type of sympathy, garner some type of a linear charge or sentence, but he made up this entire fabricated story that he was asleep with the baby Emmanuel, that he rolled over onto baby Emmanuel. When he woke up, he realized the baby was dead and he panicked. And so he went out to the Gilman Springs area that we saw him with the police the other day, and he buried the body because he wanted to have the opportunity to go back and mourn his son's death and visit him. That was his story. That's why he was out there in his chains and his shackles, allegedly trying to lead the police to the body that was never there. It
Okay.
was just part of the
And
story.
the reason that we know that this is allegedly made up is because of this reporting that we have that he spoke to someone who he thought was an inmate in the jail, but it was actually what is known as, is it a Perkins operation? So it's actually a police officer who he admitted to actually killing the baby. First of all, can you explain what a Perkins operation is?
Sure. We don't know if the person who was undercover was a police officer, if it's another, you know, run-of-the-mill citizen of the community that was acting as an undercover inmate. We just know there was another body in the jail cell pretending to be an inmate in the same inmate clothes as Jake Haro, shackled in the same manner in which Jake Haro is, and they begin to ask questions while being recorded to Jake specifically about the charges and why he's in there in hopes that he will admit whatever really happened to baby Emmanuel to these fake inmates in custody. And it's called a Perkins operation. It's these types of investigative tools have been going on for decades in agencies and district attorneys' offices across California. It's a very standard and typical investigative tool that you see the sheriff's department use in many different cities.
So this was a fake inmate who he told reportedly that he killed baby Emmanuel and then put baby Emmanuel into a trash can. Um, do we I'm just thinking about waste management and all the trash cans and the landfill. I mean, it sounds like this could be very difficult in terms of finding his remains.
Yes, that's the sad part of all of this. That is correct. He did confess to these, we will call them fake inmates, that he did kill baby Emmanuel and that he threw him in the trash can at his home. Uh, Approximately a week before Rebecca Haro even stated that the baby was missing. So baby Manuel's been missing for quite some time. And as a result, Waste Management, from my understanding, has told the sheriff's department it would be nearly impossible to determine which waste management truck took the trash, which bin it was in, and which landfill this particular trash can would have gone to, making it almost impossible that we will ever find baby Manuel's body.
That's awful to think about.
It really is. It
Terrible.
really is.
All right, you heard it. Which is it? Was Emmanuel buried out there in the Badlands? Or was he put in the trash? Or neither? You heard Brian Enton interview a former district attorney in Riverside and said, that's not true. Jake was lying in reference to the Barry story. However, law enforcement took Jake to that location. That's the only location law enforcement has been seen at looking for Emmanuel. So it makes me wonder, because they gave a press conference, law enforcement, big press conference, two of the sheriffs, Riverside County and San Bernardino County, along with the district attorney of Riverside. And they said in that press conference that Jake and Rebecca did some level of cooperation. They're also saying that they have an idea what area Emmanuel is. They only went to that location that we know of, because I haven't seen law enforcement do any searches or looking at any dumpsters, landfills, or transfer stations. So how come they didn't go, if that reporting that we just shared with Brian Enton, and it seems like they're going with the theory that Emmanuel was put in the trash after Jake rolled over on Emmanuel in the bed or wherever in the house, put him in the trash, then you would think that they would be searching landfills and dumpsters or transfer stations, and they haven't, that we have seen. So what is the truth and what is not the truth? Is Emmanuel out there in the Badlands somewhere? Maybe not buried, but placed out there. You know, we came up with the theory and speculation. It's possible, since they went to that location, that's the only location besides the house that they were at that we've seen. We've seen them doing search warrants at the home. They had the home secured for that one day, the day of the arrest, but we haven't seen any other searches whatsoever. So were they correct that, you know, maybe Jake took Emmanuel there, or authorities have some sort of evidence, digital evidence or whatever, and told Jake, come out and help us. And Jake wanted to come out and help, in a sense, because they already had that idea that Emmanuel is out there in the Badlands. We still don't know details about why Jake went to that location. Will there be news searches? Now, very well quite be in the next day or two that we start seeing law enforcement at a landfill. Maybe you have to get a warrant for that, maybe not. But we haven't seen that. Maybe they have been at landfills that we just don't know about. A lot of unanswered questions here, but what happened to Emmanuel? Both parents go to court September 4th, waiting for the affidavit of probable cause, PCA, to come out. Maybe he'll share some details. Jake's giving an interview saying, we shared an interview that Jake gave, jailhouse interview. He's claiming he's not giving any details about that location that authorities took him to. He's maintaining his innocence. He's saying that Rebecca's innocent. Rebecca's saying she's innocent. So if they're both saying they're innocent, no body. You're going to get a conviction without a body? Possibly, yes. But you would think finding Emmanuel will be very, very important to secure a conviction. I am JLR Investigates. By the way, after the prosecutors come out with that press conference, News Nation, Brian Enton is standing by, is reporting about the trash. I'm going to share that right here real quick.
More breaking news. This is on that baby Emmanuel story out in California from our News Nation senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, okay? So Brian is now reporting that the father of Emmanuel, the 7-month-old, the parents are accused of the murder, that the father has confessed to killing the child and putting his body in a trash can. Brian had reported that. Now, there's some pushback, from we understand it, to Brian's reporting from local DA, but Brian tells us now he stands by his reporting and his sources that the father of Emmanuel Haro has confessed to the killing of the child and putting the body into a trash can in their home. Jake Haro, there's baby Emmanuel now. So this is information just coming into Brian. We'll sort through it and give you some more background later. But it's a story, obviously, that we've been following closely for some time. We talked about both of the parents being held on $1 million bail each out in California on yesterday's program. But now Brian reports that Jake Haro, the father, has confessed to the killing.
So what do you think? What happened? Trash? Buried? Placed in the woods somewhere? Where's the area that authorities feel Emmanuel is at? We're covering this case extensively on JLR Investigates. Sub to the channel, hit the notification button. Justice for Emmanuel, who could do this to a innocent child. It's scary. Jake shouldn't have ever been on the streets. And another thing is Jake really the father of Emmanuel? I say that because they've been saying over and over at a press conference, if the system done its job and Jake was in prison, Emmanuel will be alive. But that doesn't make sense, because if Jake was in prison, he wouldn't have been able to impregnate Rebecca for Emmanuel to be alive. Emmanuel wouldn't even have been born unless Jake's not the father, and that could be a motive here. I don't know. Still a lot of unanswered questions. We'll talk soon. Justice for Emmanuel, Emmanuel's Army, JLR Investigates. Stay safe out there.